Okay, so before we go any further now, I want to set up a couple of layers that I'm going to use to work with. So to set up these layers, we come across to the layer manager box. It'll normally be just to the side of your drop down layer box. We'll go to the layer manager box, and I'm going to use the plus sign here, the add layer, to give myself a couple of extra layers. One of them I'm going to call layout, or you might want to call it something like construction lines or something like that. I'm going to create another one called floor, and then I'll hit the plus sign and do another one for wall, another one for roof, and probably another one for post. And probably at this stage I'll make sure I'm in my layout layer. So you can do that by, before you leave this dialog box, just press the radio button so the solid black dot is in the middle of the layout circle. Then you can close the layers dialog box. Okay. Now, what we're going to do to start with is, unfortunately, SketchUp doesn't recognise this JPEG image as having any entities on it. It's just a flat surface at the moment. So if I want to actually measure off this image, what I'd have to do is temporarily just create some lines on that image, some SketchUp lines on that image that I can actually measure from. So what I'll get you to do, and it can probably even be in the layout layer, it doesn't really matter, just go and grab the pencil tool, which is your line tool, click on the line tool, and just draw a line along this boundary for a short distance. So somewhere, zoom up so you get it fairly accurate, and as you're stretching out, try and keep, or it's essential that you do keep, the rubber band on the other end of the dot point, the line joining your rubber band, should be green, because you want to draw it perfectly along that green axis. So just anywhere there, as long as the rubber band is green, and click. And you've then drawn a little SketchUp line just directly on top of that line. You then go and grab your tape measure tool. Over here's the tape measure. Click the tape measure tool. Click somewhere along that line that you've got. It'll normally show up on edge or midpoint or something like that. Don't draw from the end points though. Come from somewhere along edge. Pull away from that line as if you're going to create a construction line away from that line. However, type the number 0. So type 0 and press enter. You've now drawn a construction line that is perfectly right on top of that line because it has a distance of 0 away. I'm then going to go back up to my select tool, click the select tool, click the original line that we created, and press delete on the keyboard. So that line is now gone. Okay. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to use that starting line there as a point to start laying out some other construction lines for the rest of the building. So I'm going to go to my tape measure tool, and I'm going to start on that construction line that we've just put in, and I'm going to pull away, making sure that my rubber band is red coloured. And as I'm pulling away, I'm going to go close to that wall of the house so that I can establish a construction line, a builder's string line if you would, for the edge of that side of the house. And as I get close to there, I'm not going to click yet, but just as I get close, I'm going to note the tooltip that pops up, and in my case it happens to be somewhere around about 34, well now I've got 3390.7. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually type a nice round number that rounds off that tooltip number. So in my case it's going to be 3400. Should be the same for all of you. So we're going to type 3400 and press enter. So we've now created a construction line from the boundary of the property that is 3.4 metres away from the boundary of the property. We used the original sketch, which actually could be an original hand sketch of a preliminary design workup that you scanned in, but you're using the preliminary sketch to guide you to the approximate dimension, but in SketchUp then you're actually going to type an accurate dimension to finish off with. Okay, I'm coming from that construction line that we've just created on that wall, and I'm going to pull right across to the other side of the building, and I'm going to round that number up as well. So to me it looks like I'm going to do something like 7750. So if I type 7750 and press enter, I've got another construction line now that's 7750 away from that line, and that's what I'm going to use for the accurate dimensions of the outside of the house. Okay, what I'm going to do now is temporarily create another line. Yes, we'll still be in layout, but I'll zoom up on this part of the building here, and I'll create another line that was on top of the end of that end wall, the edge of that end wall. So I'm just going to create a line, making sure I'm coming back with a red rubber band, so I'm making sure I'm parallel to the red axis, and click. And I'm going to do the same thing that we did before again. I'm going to go and pick up my tape measure tool, click along the edge of that line, pull away from it, type 0. I've now got a construction line right on top of that line, so I'll go to my select tool so that I can select the original line and press delete. Okay, so we've got that other construction set out there. Now, so I'm going to do the same thing that I did before. I'll pick up my tape measure, I'll pull along that line here, and I'll drag out to the other end of that brick wall there. Now, respecting brick dimensions, brick module dimensions there, if I go to 8750, a distance of 8750, because that's very close to what I'm reading here at the moment, I know that that's an actual brick module dimension, and there will be no need to cut any bricks. So if I type 8750 and press enter, there's my other construction line there. The only other things that I might need as a bit of a guide for this set out here might be where this pop out in this wall goes, and once again, if we are using brick for this wall construction, we'd probably want to use something which respects brick dimensions. So I'll pull out from here, and I'm measuring something around about 3.6 metres there. Well, 3600, so typing 3600 is a brick module dimension, and I'll come back from the same construction line at the back there, doing the same sort of thing, hovering somewhere around about the 3 metres, and 3 metres, typing 3000, will give us another accurate brick dimension. So this building being laid out shouldn't need any brick cutting, which is a sustainability concept to try and minimise the amount of wastage on site. Okay, so we're probably pretty ready to start doing something now. What I'll get you before we go any further is let's just do a save to some place where you might want to keep this. You can even just leave it on your desktop for now, and we'll give this a name down in the bottom here, and we'll call it Cuthbert House. And I'll save that to my desktop. I'm just going to pause the video here for a moment so you can sort of have a bit of a time to sort of catch up on all of that level there.